Sheryl Swoopes has been showing nothing but jealousy towards Caitlin Clark all season long, but this time, she has really outdone herself. D-Shields just entered the list of players who are attacking Caitlin Clark on the court. Look at her taking down Caitlin Clark at half court while the Fever were on the move. It wasn't just a regular foul, this was clearly a frustration foul.
The play against Caitlin Clark, it wasn't okay. It was a flagrant foul.
Yeah. The fallout was intense. Fans and analysts alike are calling D-Shields out, accusing her of playing dirty.
Diamond DeShield received racist threats after Caitlin Clark flagrant foul.
The backlash was swift and fierce. But in the midst of all the criticism, guess who came to support the poor D-Shields? None other than Sheryl Swoopes. And it had some serious consequences this time. She tweeted, "Head up, kid. Hate will not win. You are covered and ain't nothing these evil people can do about that. All love for you." Swoopes' anti-Clark take cost her a spot on Sunday's broadcast for the Fever vs. Dallas Wings game. Yep, the game where she was supposed to be the analyst. Now she might have got the idea that getting on the wrong side of Clark and the fans comes with consequences. Swoopes' way of confirming the news of her removal was also quite interesting. When an ex-user commented saying they couldn't wait to hear Swoopes announcing during Sunday's game, Swoopes replied, "Not today, Satan." Oh, come on, Swoopes. You are supporting players who are playing violently that could even lead to a career-threatening injury to other players. It seems to me that Satan's been working overtime on you. This was not the first time Sheryl had shown her jealousy towards Caitlin, and people have called her out. One of those people, Stephen A. Smith, has backed Caitlin in the past too. Stephen A. Smith didn't pull any punches when he called out Sheryl Swoopes for her seriously jealous take on Caitlin Clark. Let's be real, the Caitlin Clark effect is a whole phenomenon in the world of women's basketball. This isn't just some catchy phrase. Caitlin has literally redefined the game, both on the court and from a business standpoint. Every time she steps onto the hardwood, it's like you can almost guarantee she's about to break another record. And you know what comes with greatness, right? Haters, jealousy, it's all part of the package. But here's the thing, most of the time, the haters are those who haven't really done much themselves. So it's a real shocker when you see other WNBA legends like Sheryl Swoopes throwing shade Caitlin's way. By the end of this video, you're going to see why Sheryl Swoopes might just be the biggest Caitlin Clark hater out there. The beef started way back in Caitlin's college days. She also believed that Angel's game would translate better to the WNBA than Caitlin's.
Like, nah, it's not gonna be that easy. So will Caitlin Clark be a good pro? Absolutely. Will Caitlin Clark come into the WNBA and do what she's doing right now? Immediately? Absolutely not. Not gonna happen.
Okay. Not on the right team?
Do you know what's a good thing about opinions? That they are not facts. While Swoopes was right about Caitlin becoming a solid pro, she completely missed the mark on how quickly Caitlin would dominate the WNBA. Sheryl even went as far as to claim that Caitlin's NCAA points record was just a result of volume shooting rather than actual quality. She thought Caitlin needed more time to surpass Kelsey Plum's score.
If you're going to break a record, to me, if it's legitimate, you have to break that record in the same amount of time that that player set it.
Okay.
So if Kelsey Plum set that record in 4 years, well, Caitlin should have broke that record in 4 years. But because there's a COVID year and then there's another year, you know what I mean? So she's already had an extra year to break that record. So is it truly a broken record? Yeah, that'll go in the record books as Caitlin Clark is the all-time, whatever it is. I don't even know what the number is, but that's the way it'll be. And I don't think it should be.
Wait, she has more to say?
Let's also talk about how much more experience that gives you over other players coming in, right? So people say, dang, like he or she's killing them, but you have a 25-year-old playing against a 20-year-old. Like, you should be killing them.
Yeah.
Because you've been doing it a lot longer than they have. Clark right now probably takes about 40 shots a game.
Here we go.
Now, she either has no idea what she's talking about, which I highly doubt considering her basketball history, or again, she's just spitting big lies and jealousy that seriously need to be called out. First up, she tried to twist the narrative by claiming Caitlin played 5 years of college basketball, blaming it on COVID. But here's the truth. Caitlin played 4 years, just like Kelsey Plum. And get this, Caitlin shattered the record in even fewer games. Next, Swoopes says that Caitlin takes 40 shots a game. Seriously? The actual number was around 19 shots per game game across her career. That's less than half of what Swoopes claimed. It's like Swoopes didn't even bother to check the stats. And finally, the most ridiculous lie of all. Swoopes had the nerve to say that Caitlin Clark is 25 years old. Come on, Caitlin is only 22. That's a huge difference, especially in the sports world. So what's the deal, Sheryl? The facts just don't back you up. Caitlin Clark's accomplishments speak for themselves. You know what I think? Caitlin Clark's impact on women's basketball is nothing short of phenomenal. She's brought a spotlight to the WNBA like never before. She's inspiring young kids everywhere to chase their dreams. But it's truly disappointing to see some people hating on her when we should be celebrating and supporting her. And it's not just about Caitlin, it's about the entire WNBA. Sure, Caitlin has drawn many new fans to the league, but let's take the time to get to know other players too. Players who are working just as hard to elevate their game. Supporting Caitlin means supporting the whole league, and that's how we can truly honor her impact. Our channel also plays a teeny tiny part in this huge world to support WNBA and bring latest updates to you, so please subscribe to us. Thanks, and coming back to the topic, eventually Swoopes did apologize for her misinformed opinions, but we all know how that apology went.
I'm gonna say this, and then I wanna be done with this whole conversation. So for people to come at me and say that I made those comments because I'm a racist, first of all, black people can't be racist, but that's the farthest thing from my mind.
Actually, it doesn't matter what she says because Caitlin has gone on to smash record after record in the WNBA. She holds the single game assist record, the most consecutive point assist double-doubles in a rookie season, the most double-doubles by a rookie guard, and she was the first rookie to record a triple-double. Oh, and let's not forget, she's the single game leader in three-point field goals made by a rookie and the youngest player to ever record a double-double in points and assists in back-to-back games. And that's just in the WNBA. So how can she go on to do what I'm about to show you in this video, even when the records speak for themselves? On top of everything else, Caitlin Clark has already racked up 7 different records for the Indiana Fever, and that's just in her rookie season. Seriously, she's practically an all-time great for the Fever franchise, etching her name in the history books in record time. But despite all this, Sheryl Swoopes seems to have a personal vendetta against Caitlin. It's not just some casual criticism anymore. It's starting to look like real dislike. And guess what? People are starting to notice. Even the legendary Stephen A. Smith couldn't stay quiet. He straight up called her out for that extremely poor take on Clark. It's clear as day now. Sheryl's bias against Caitlin is getting harder to ignore, and the world is watching.
Clark and the Fever currently lead the WNBA in average game attendance and per game TV viewership. But despite the attendance and viewership records, there seems to be some haterade in the league in regards to Clark, starting with WNBA legend Sheryl Swoopes herself.
Stephen A. Smith is talking about Swoopes' biased take on Indiana's rise in the standings. Swoopes refused to give Caitlin Clark any credit, completely ignoring the rookie's impact. Instead, she praised Lexi Hull, Kelsey Mitchell, and Aaliyah Boston, who have been great, but not mentioning Caitlin. That's just petty. Swoopes believes Indiana can keep climbing with Hull, Mitchell, and Boston leading the way. But how do you leave out the Fever's star point guard? It's like she's purposely overlooking Caitlin's contributions.
This Indiana team, I'm gonna say shout out to Lexi Hull. I'm a big Lexi Hull fan. Watch her in AU. Lexi Hull shot the leather off the ball in their game against Seattle and just couldn't miss. Kelsey Mitchell is just stroking. She is just shooting the basketball. Aaliyah Boston, almost a triple-double.
Now, hear this. She forgot to give a shout out to Caitlin Clark's record-breaking performance, but somehow she thought it was more important to give a shout out to Angel Reese for a losing game.
Before I get into that, I am going to say this. Shout out to Angel Reese, even in a loss. Listen, 20 boards.
It's crazy.
20 boards. Say what you want to say about how she's getting all these rebounds. You can get 20 rebounds. I don't care if you're rebounding your own. But the thing is with Angel just has a knack for the basketball. Angel
really
is
crazy.
just going to go get the basketball. And she is constantly giving her team more possessions. And I'm going to say this, Spoon, I should text her, but I'm going to say it right now. I needed her to let her stay in the game to get 20 points. She had 19. I just needed her to get the...
It is quite upsetting to see such a behavior from an accomplished player like her, and that's exactly what Stephen A. Smith pointed out.
For WNBA championships. You know basketball. You know basketball better than me.
Yeah, she was good in her times, but the newer fans will start knowing Sheryl Swoopes more for her outlandish takes than her legendary basketball skills. And the reason is pretty simple. Swoopes just doesn't seem to place Caitlin Clark at the deserving spot. Before this, she took yet another swipe at the 22-year-old, saying Clark has better players playing by her side at the Fever than Angel Reese does at the Chicago Sky. With both Clark and Reese locked in a heated battle for Rookie of the Year, Swoopes' blatant dismissal of a once-in-a-generation talent like Clark is almost laughable. Seriously, it's starting to feel more like comedy than critique at this point.
No, Caitlin Clark. Respectfully, Sheryl Swoopes, you have any idea how that makes you look?
See, it is fair to criticize a player. No player is perfect. Everyone has flaws. And herself knows that she has a lot to learn. In the beginning, the entire league heard the chatter. This generational talent was coming to take over. Naturally, every player in the WNBA had something to prove. They weren't about to let this rookie steal the show. And let's be honest, Caitlin had zero time to catch her breath. She jumped straight from college ball into the big leagues with no break. Most rookies have the luxury of easing into the game, maybe sitting on the bench for a bit, or at least not carrying the weight of the team on their shoulders from day one. But not Caitlin. She was thrown right into the fire. But here's where Swoopes and other critics missed the mark. If you're going to tear someone down, at least acknowledge their accomplishments too. Caitlin's start wasn't perfect, far from it, but she's also shown flashes of the brilliance that had everyone talking in the first place. Critiquing is one thing, but outright dismissal, that's just petty. Greatness isn't about never stumbling, it's about how you get back up and keep pushing forward. And Caitlin, she's just getting started.
You know basketball better than me. You know basketball than any of the pundits. You know basketball better than most of the men that play basketball. There is no way in hell you just accidentally left Caitlin Clark's name out of that soliloquy that you dropped about the Indiana Fever. Stop it. You know that. Stop it.
There were many heated arguments about Caitlin Clark's snub on the Olympic Team USA. People showed their disappointment, stating that Caitlin Clark should have been there, and that Diana Taurasi ended up being a dead weight on the team. Make sure to check out that video, but the thing is, Indiana Fever has been on fire since coming back from the Olympic break. 2 straight wins, one over the Phoenix Mercury and the other against the Seattle Storm. And let me tell you, that Fever versus Storm game was nothing short of electric. Caitlin Clark breaking records left and right, both for the franchise and across the league. The Fever avoided a season sweep from the Storm with a dominant 92-75 victory, and all eyes were glued to the game. Not just because it was a showdown of skill, but because Caitlin was on the verge of making history. She only needed 2 assists to break a 26-year-old WNBA record. Coming into the game, Caitlin had 223 assists, just one shy of tying Teacha Penicheiro's rookie record of 224, which was set way back in 1998 with the Sacramento Monarchs. And guess what? She didn't just tie it. She shattered it before halftime, and she did it in only 28 games, while it took Teacha Penicheiro 30 games. Now, let's rewind to her first game back against Diana Taurasi and the Mercury. Caitlin wasn't just playing, she dominating. Her performance was so epic that in a few years we might look back and say, yeah, that's when Caitlin really hit her stride in the WNBA. In just the first half, she dropped 16 points on 55.6% shooting, drained 3 triples, dished out 5 assists, and grabbed 4 rebounds. Total domination. And if that wasn't enough, she made WNBA history, becoming the first rookie to score at least 450 points and tally at least 200 assists in a season. Only 5 other players in the league's history have managed that, and somehow all of this seems to have conveniently slipped Sheryl Swoopes' mind. And we're not even touching on Caitlin's skyrocketing popularity yet.
Look at this right here. National broadcast viewership. What are we talking about here? 1,000, what is that? 1.219? Is that the number? And the game afterwards got 485,000 views. So the Fever and their game against the Minnesota Lynx was 1.219 million. On Ion. On Ion!
Since the WNBA season started, there's been this growing idea that some media folks and former players are trying to downplay Caitlin Clark's accomplishments. And now, there's even more proof that this might be true, which is really not a good look for the league.
Was validate all the speculation that there's folks hating on Caitlin Clark. That's all she did.
You know, there have been several times when opposing players have hit Caitlin with dirty plays that should have led to ejections but didn't. Do you remember when Chennedy Carter knocked down Caitlin with her shoulder and Angel Reese was cheering from the side? Yeah, we also made a video on that. Plus, she's been dealing with overly physical defense, the kind that wouldn't be allowed against any other player. But for some reason, it's considered fair game when it's Caitlin. And yeah, how can we forget the recent incident when Seattle Storm coach had heated argument with Indiana Fever coach mid-match? Just because Coach Quinn, who calls herself a gangster, thought that Caitlin Clark was on the court for too long. She wanted her to sit on the bench. I mean, come on, that's knit up to you to decide. Instead of giving Caitlin credit for impact on the team, Sheryl Swoopes is pretending not to notice her impact. And it's obvious because when any other playmaker boosts their team's performance, they get the recognition, but not Caitlin.
Some people think she's already arrived. I don't. I think she's going to be even better. And I think that what she has done for women's basketball, especially in this country, has been phenomenal. There is no woman, no matter how great you were as a player.
When you're a superstar, winning games isn't enough. You also have to draw in the crowds. That's part of the package. And in that sense, Caitlin has gone above and beyond. Not only is she making history on the court, but she's also changing the way the entire organization operates.
Ain't hate. Rising tide lifts all boats. Whatever it takes for everybody to get fed, I'm all for it. You a WNBA player? Caitlin Clark gonna get you paid. I'd figure out a way to be her friend.
Sheryl Swoopes is exposing her bias with every one of her wild takes. Soon enough, people might remember her more as the Caitlin Clark hater than the Hall of Famer she really is, and she'll only have herself to blame for that.